Asking questions at the top of a scene is a pretty advanced move, and one that we typically want to avoid, especially if we're newer to doing improv. Questions in general in a scene are a more advanced move to make. And early in improv, you'll often be told not to ask questions at all. But you can ask questions in improv. This rule is broken all the time, but you need to learn how to break this rule before you can use questions. In this episode and the previous one and the next couple, I'm talking about the top of the scene. I'm talking about initiations and setting that base reality. But what does this have to do with questions? And why are questions bad? And are they really? That's a lot of questions. Questions can end up putting all of the work on your scene partner. You're asking them to fill in those details instead of just adding them yourself. And that's why we're instructed not to ask them. Now, good questions in improv, the ones we can use, these are the ones that are okay. These style of questions add information to the scene using the question itself. So unless you've practiced specifically how to do that, how to ask the question that way, they're best to avoid until you figure that out, and then you can ask them. But at the top of the scene, it's a little bit different because it's a little bit harder to still add that information to a scene using a question at that point of the scene. And the top of the scene is a really important time to be adding information kind of quickly and efficiently to get everyone, your scene partners and the audience, up to speed on that same page so you all know what's happening. So instead of asking questions, what we typically want to do is assume that you know the same information as the other person on the stage. And doing that creates this sort of sense of shared history, shared experience. This is the same reason why early on you might be directed to know each other and to do the scene with someone your character already knows, because it's just easier to do that way. It's that shared history, that shared information. So now some of us, we might have issues with assuming things, especially assuming things about other people. And that's kind of doing, I'm assuming something about your character. That felt weird to me at first. I personally absolutely hate making assumptions, and I don't want to ever act like I'm assuming something about another person. I think this has something to do with justice sensitivity, but it absolutely stems from not liking those assumptions being made of me. So I don't want to do it to other people because a lot of assumptions are wrong. That's the whole thing with miscommunication and neurodivergence. So it definitely has to do something with my autism. But I reckon some of you might be able to relate to this in some sort of way. This might bring up some stuff for some of you. I know when I started improv in the early days, it felt very weird to be applying things to my scene partners this way until I understood that they don't know either. We're not supposed to be thinking ahead in that way. And a lot of the fun comes from that pivot. Somebody else saying something about me that I didn't even anticipate. I can change, I can drop things right away and just move on. That is the fun of improv. I had to understand that first, though, that those shifts are really fun. So if it feels weird now, that makes sense, but it will probably change as you keep doing improv, if that's true for you. See, I said probably. I hate assuming things. Okay, so here's some stuff you can practice for this at the top of the scene. This is how to start a scene with a much higher chance at success. So you're making it easy on yourself. Maybe you keep this in mind for a really hard day when you're exhausted, you've used a lot of cognitive resources already, and you just want to do an easy scene. So to practice this, 2 players up, and we're going to gift our scene partners with that information. Player 1 initiates and can only begin what they say with either "you look," "you seem," or "you feel." And then player 2 is going to agree with that statement and add to it. Now, what does this do? You're making an assumption about any of these things. You know the person and you know one of these 3 things about them. Now, how do you practice this on your own? For solo practice, try formatting this as a one-sided phone call. Improvise a phone conversation where you cannot ask any questions. You must only make statements based on what the imaginary person on the other end said. You could say, I know you're angry about the car, or I can hear you eating soup. Oh, maybe that's your favorite split pea, carrot soup. The spicy one. Well, you grew carrots this year until the rabbits got them. My God, that was weird. This effectively trains your assumed knowledge muscle. I'm deHaan, and this is your Improv Brain. You can find a bunch of improv resources, including downloads, at improvupdate.com. Bye for now.